Hello and welcome to Lesson 7-2. Today we're going to look at solving multi-step equations. So a few things you need to keep in mind before we can start is that you need to combine like terms first, okay, if we're going to simplify an equation, and then we may have to use the distributive property as well before we can go ahead and simplify. So combining like terms might be something as simple as having like 3x plus 6x minus 1 equals 10. So what I mean by combining like terms is you have to collect the like terms first. So here I would go 3x plus 6x, or 9x minus 1 equals 10. So what that does is it kind of cleans things up a little bit, and now I'm down to my two-step equation where I can subtract 1 from both sides. That's going to give me 9x equals 9, and then I would go ahead and divide both sides by 9, and x would equal 1 then. So combining like terms will help you out tremendously. Now, one thing I do want to point out, notice these are on the same side of the equal sign. That's why I was able to go ahead and just add them up. If I'm trying to move something from one side to the other side of the equal sign, that's when I'm going to have to do the opposite signs. But again, these were on the same side of the equal sign, so I could go ahead and simplify or combine the like terms because they're on the same side. So let's take a look here at example 1. It says, one basketball team defeated another by 13 points. The total number of points scored by both teams was 171. Solve the equation p plus p minus 13 equals 171 to find the number of points p scored by the winning team. So we have p plus p minus 13 equals 171. So just to kind of make sense of this a little bit, okay, this right here is going to be the winning team. And I know that because this right here is going to be the winning team minus 13 is what the score of the other team was, because it said the winning team defeated the other team by 13 points. So this right here is the losing team. The first P is the winning team. So the very first thing I'm going to do in order to solve this is, because both P's are on the same side of the equal sign, I'm going to go ahead and collect these like terms. So 1p plus 1p will give me 2p minus 13 equals 171. If I go ahead and I add 13 to both sides, this is going to give me 2p equals 184. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides by 2. And this is going to give me p equals 92. Now, because we're doing a story problem, we know that P, and it tells me this up here, it says P is going to be the number of points. So P is going to be 92 points was the winning team. The losing team would be 92 points minus the 13 points, or the losing team lost with 79 points. Now, before we do our next example, I just wanted to kind of review with you what the term consecutive integers meant. Remember, when something is consecutive, you're counting by ones from any integer. So you could have something like 121, or 120, 121, 122. The next consecutive integer would be 123, 124, and so on. I could also use negatives. So I could have -5, -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, and that would take me into the positives, and this is going to continue on. So consecutive integers means that it's one away from the next. So we're going to use this little bit of information to help us solve example 2. So example 2 says to find the sum of 3 consecutive integers, and we know that the sum is going to equal 96. We want to know what the 3 consecutive integers, or the 3 integers that are right next to each other, are that add up to 96. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create kind of like a little note to myself. I'm going to call the first integer the smallest, or n, and this is going to be my smallest integer. And we know that if we're going to find our next integer, I'm going to take that n and I'm going to add 1 to it. So this right here is going to be the second integer. And then to find the third integer, I'm going to have to take that first integer and then I'm going to have to add 2 to it. So if you think in the back of your head, if n was 1, then my next term would be n plus 1, or 1 plus 1, which would be 2. And then my third term would be n, which we said was 1 plus 2, which would be 3. So this is just to kind of give it a little perspective here. So n plus 2 then must be my third integer. So because I want to find the sum of 3 consecutive integers, that means I'm going to take these 3 parts right here and I'm going to add them together. So I'm going to take n and I'm going to add that to n plus 1, and then I'm going to add that to n plus 2. So you can see I have each of my 3 integers, and when I simplify this, I'm actually going to set this equal to 96 first because it told me that the sum of those 3 integers equals 96. So now when I go to simplify this, I notice that I have 3 like terms on the left side. So if I come here and I kind of separate at the equal sign, I have 3 like terms on the left side here. So I have 1n plus 2, another n plus another n is going to give me 3n. And then I also have 2 more like terms, okay, because they're constants. I have 1 plus 2, which will give me 3. So I end up with 3n plus 3 equals 96. So now what I do is I've got a 2-step equation and I can go ahead and solve. So I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. When I do this, I end up with 3n, these are going to cancel, equals 93. And if I go ahead and divide both sides by 3, I end up with n equals 31. So I'm not done yet though. I need the 3 consecutive integers. So that tells me that my first integer is 31. So my integers are 31, my second integer is 32, and my third integer would be 33. If you add these 3 integers up, you will get 96. Example 3 says that we're going to find the sum of 3 even consecutive integers, and we know that it is 66. Find our integers. So again, I'm going to start out by listing what I know. My first term, I'm going to call n. This is my smallest integer. Then I'm going to have my second integer. Now because it wants even, I'm going to take my first integer and I'm going to have to add 2 to it. Okay, because if n, let's say n is equal to 4, to get up to 6, because that would be my next even integer, I have to add 2 to 4. Then to get up to my third integer, which would be 8, that would be my next even integer, I would have to go 4 plus 4. So my, n plus 2 is going to be my second integer, and n plus 4 is going to be my third integer. So now, again, I know it's a sum. I know it equals 66. So if I go n plus 2 plus n plus 4, I know that this is going to give me a sum of 66. I'm going to go ahead and collect my like terms. So I have n, or 3n, plus, and then I have 2 plus 4, which are my constants. So this gives me 6, and I know that this equals 66. If I subtract 6 from both sides, this gives me 3n equals 60. And here, if I go ahead and I divide both sides by 3, I'm now left with n is equal to 20. Now this is my first term, don't forget. So my integers then, to make the solution of 66, or the sum of 66, would be 20, 22, and 24. These are my 3 consecutive even integers. Now for our final example, we're going to solve, and I have 2 times the quantity of 5x minus 3 equals 14. For right now, when you are given a distribution problem, please go ahead and distribute before we go ahead and simplify. So this is going to give me 10x minus 6 equals 14. Now I have a 2-step equation, and I can go ahead and simplify. So I'm going to undo the subtraction first. I'm going to add 6 to both sides, and I have 10x equals 20. So I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides by 10, because I really have 10 times x. So to undo the multiplication, I have to divide. So if I divide both sides by 10, this is going to give me x is equal to 2. And then I'm done. Please try part B on your own real quick. Now that you've had a chance to try it on your own, let's go ahead and work it out together. So when I look at this problem, the first thing I notice is I have 38 equals negative 3 times a quantity of 4y plus 2 plus y. So I see that I need to distribute first. So I have 38 equals a negative 12y. Negative 3 times a positive 2 will give me a negative 6. And then I'm left with a plus y outside. So I always am looking to see if I can simplify things before I have to start moving things from the left or the right. So right here, I notice that I have a negative 12y and y on the same side of the equal sign. So I'm going to collect those like terms first. So a negative 12y plus a positive y is going to give me a negative 11y, and then I have minus 6. Next, I see that I'm down to a 2-step equation. So I need to get my y piece by itself right here. That means I need to undo the subtraction of 6. So I'll add 6 to both sides, and that's going to give me 44 is equal to a negative 11y. I want to get y by itself, so I'm going to divide both sides by a negative 11. And when I do that, my 11s are going to cancel, and I'm left with y equals a negative 4. This concludes the 7.2 video. Please let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, I'll see you in class.